Hey, good morning, everybody. Dave here at Scale Models Midwest. Welcome back to the workbench. Hope you're having a great weekend. As you can see here, I've got the Dart finished up. This is the Revell 68 Dodge Dart Hemi or 440 GTS. I decided to go with the 440 GTS so I could do my trademark white interior, and the paint again I got from MCW Finishes. This is the dark burnt orange metallic, and overall I think it laid down really well. I did thin it out to like a 1-1 and then put some hardener in it. The color coats went down over a light gray Tamiya primer base. When I had that primer base down, I did a 3200 and 3600 grit polishing cloths and then laid down the coats. I did 2 light mist coats and 2 medium wet heavy of the dark burnt orange, and then after that, gassed out, I went on ahead and did 3 coats of the 2K clear, also from MCW. The thing I did this time a little different was I found online one of these Hardell mini drills, if you will, and unfortunately it didn't fit the bits that I had for it, but I also picked up. But I had my Craftsman moto tools, so I used it, and I had 2 or 3 of these polishing cloths that I also got online through Amazon, and I did the Tamiya Fine as well as the finishing compound, and then ultimately waxed it out with some of my favorite Armor All Butter Smooth wax. And again, that's what you see here for the final product. As far as the paint, again, it just looks really sharp. Terry's already said it looked really good. So coming from the master of the airbrush himself, getting better at this. Just take your time if you're still new to airbrushing or still working on it. If you look back at my previous videos, I've done about maybe 15 airbrush jobs, and they just seem to get better and better. There's only one demerit I had on this one. Unfortunately, you can see it there in the rear window. I had a glue mark on it. That's my doing. I didn't see it until after I started buttoning up the kit, but it doesn't really detract from ultimately a really good kit. So I'll give you some details here on this. For starters, to complement the white interior, I did use the white bumblebee stripe. If I did a black interior, I would have done the black stripe. I also utilized the red line decals. They went down really well. Used a little bit of microsol or microset to put them in place. The dashboard I had to reposition a couple of times, the dash top, so it would fit well within the area just before the firewall. And then of course everything else, like I said, came through together. A little black wash on the front end, and I still have to do a couple of dots of the amber and the gold for the turn signals, but otherwise at that point it's done. Did the same thing here for the rear end with the panel line detailer. And then for the engine, I had started to talk about wiring it, but then I changed my mind because I've got another one of these kits up on the shelf, and eventually I'm going to go a lot more detail with the Hemi. There's the engine bay itself. This is the 440 with an automatic, and I think ultimately it went together really well. Unfortunately, the radiator hose is shorter than what it should be. I don't know if it was a short shot, but I got it in there anyway, and ultimately I think just still looks good. Don't really have any other nits to pick about this car. I mean, this was a good kit. Nice little, I think they would call it a intermediate body, if not a compact for the 60s, with the big engine, and it's something I've always been into. It's the big engine vehicles. In fact, the Hemi that came out of this kit I'm going to use for another kit. I've got a couple on my shelf that I'm looking at to decide what to do, but got a couple other kits in the meantime, and I'll show you what I've got on that one. But again, hope this one hope you like this one. I do. I personally do like it. I can't wait to put this on the shelf. I never did a burnt orange or burnt copper metallic car before, and this is just going to really stand out on the shelf. And yeah, impressive. Great kit from Revell. So having taken that off, I got a couple kits I'm starting to work on right now. For starters, I want to do a kind of a quick kit, get one grokked and out of the way, and this one is the Salvino's JR Bertha 78 Chevy Monte Carlo, and I am going to use the round headlamps that came with this. The interior, what's interesting about this one is that this kit weighed about a pound, and I wondered why. When I opened it, I had a ton of parts, but I had a couple trees that were in green for the chassis, because they said that the chassis can be in green or in black. I'm going to do mine in black, but I'm going to keep this one on. And I realized that I took the cylinder heads off for the green, but there's white cylinder heads too. And then of course there were some sprues of gray, and the truck arm suspension. I'm actually utilizing that for this kit as well, and this I can reuse for any other kit from that era, from the Oldsmobiles to the Monte Carlos, and maybe even think about it for some other kind of jerry-rigged kind of scratch-built model. Who knows? One thing I did notice when I got the kit, the instructions that came with it, I started to assemble the engine, and I've built enough of these kits already to know I don't really need the instructions. Famous last words for all of us model builders. But this was the kit instruction sheet that came with the kit, and right off the bat I'm looking at it going, this isn't right. Especially when I looked at the headers. This is from one of the 1/24th scale kits, kind of like the Bill Elliott Thunderbird or the Bobby Allison Buick, and not for this kit. So it's a good thing I had some of these Monte Carlos already built. I went ahead and pulled one of the decal sheets, or sorry, instruction sheets, out of my Cale Yarborough kit, and I'm going to build the car based on those. I've already got some of the parts in paint. This one here, I had shot a couple coats of flat black on the interior. I've got to do a little bit more sanding before I put this in the booth. I'll put white primer on it, and then either pure white from Tamiya, which would be TS26 pure white, or I'll do another white color coat. Got to do a little grocery run to the hobby store today. My daughter will like that. So I've got that kit. I've been working on it since about 6:30 this morning while the ladies were sleeping. I was down here on the workbench having a little bit of fun, enjoying some coffee, and yeah, nice quiet. Now it's about 9:30, so I've been at it for about 3 hours between this kit, working on some other items, cleaning up the workbench, and then one of my friends, we went up to his son's graduation party, who's our godson, and he asked me if I could build a kit for him. I said sure. So he gave me two kits and wanted to combine them. This first one I've already seen before. This is actually the same kit that I won a few years back at my first ever model show. This is the 75 Open Roadster Corvette, and as you see, I've done that one. Let's see if I can pull that off the shelf here, just as a reminder. That's that kit. This was one of my first airbrush kits, and it turned out really well. Again, trademark white interior is what I really like. This one's actually more of a grayish white, but I built this one with the Velocity stacks, and he wanted just the tri-carbed 454, but it was basically to combine the parts from the Corvette, especially the suspension for the front. He wants the suspension on the other model kit to turn, and use the parts from this kit for that into this one as I drop boxes, the AMT Monte Carlo. So I'm looking at this, and as I opened up the box I realized somebody had already started to spray paint it metallic silver, and he had asked about painting it this gold. So I went and I got the color code on that, And it's a champagne gold, and he wanted a similar color for the interior, so I'm gonna look at that and go ahead and get that painted. I do like the Monte Carlos of this era. They are pretty sweet, but he said I'd like to have the suspension in the front turning, so I'm looking to see, because the Corvette suspension on that other kit is narrower than the suspension on this one, and I think I can make the suspension on this one steerable, manually, but still I can do that, and then maybe build up the other kit for him, just a companion piece with another steering suspension. But he wanted this painted in champagne gold, gold interior, wanted to keep the rally rims, and the 454 has a single carburetor on this one as such, but he wanted me to use the tri-power 427 that came in the Corvette. So when I work on that one, I think I'll just swap the engines, or probably just the intakes, and see if they'll fit and go from there. And then again, like I said, he'll have one if not two kits to build. He told me I could keep the parts of what's left, but I got a ton of kits. I figure I'll just build one for him and build the second one for him and go from there. Anyhow, I'm going to go ahead and start wrapping this up. I'll come back down a little bit later and work on the kits some more, but I'm going to go upstairs and see if everybody's awake, start cooking breakfast for everybody, and with that, I hope you're continuing to build the cool kits. Keep liking and subscribing to this channel and hit the notification bell. Share it with friends. Certainly like to see what you're building out there, so drop me a line through the chat, and we'll see you in the next video. Take care.